Look at this cheese pull. This is a chicken chimichanga, and I'm making it right now. The ingredients I'm using today for the filling are chicken breast, a block of softened cream cheese, seasonings and spices, a little chicken bouillon powder, and it's all going into my crock pot. So in goes the chicken. I'm going to add like a tablespoon of chicken bouillon. Here I'm going to add some onion powder. I'm also going to add some cracked black pepper, and be sure to season this how you prefer. Here I have some garlic powder going in, and I'm eyeballing everything. I'm also going to add some smoked paprika right on top of the chicken. This is kind of like a dump and go recipe. Here I'm adding the softened cream cheese, and even if it's kind of cold, it'll soften. It's going in the crock pot. And then now that that's in, cover with a lid. I'm going to set it to high and cook until the chicken is cooked through and tender. It's like 4.5 hours. Once it's done, you can shred right in the crock pot and mix it. I actually had to remove some of the rendered broth from the crock pot. I left a little bit in, but look how tender this is. I'm just taking tongs. I'm going to shred and break it apart and mix it in with the cream cheese. Essentially, you're working with about 1.5 pounds of cooked shredded chicken. Here I'm going to add a can of green chilies, give that a mix, and taste it for salt and seasoning. Adjust to your preference, and this is the filling. This is done. This next part, you can actually buy burrito-sized flour tortillas from the store. I'm making mine from scratch today, and I'm actually going to eyeball all of these ingredients, but I have done several soft flour tortillas on my channel. I will link 1 or 2 below. If you do use my recipe, you can divide the dough into about 6 to 8 dough balls, and that should be about the right size to give you a 10-inch flour tortilla, which works perfectly when you're rolling and wrapping up these chimichangas. So I had my flour, I'm eyeballing baking powder right into the bowl. Here I have some salt. And again, this is what I do when I'm not filming. And here I have rendered bacon fat. I'm going to mix this. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself because I really am trying to make these and be done. Water into the bowl where the bacon grease was at, just to get any bacon grease that stayed behind. By the way, I like to add hot water as hot as my hands can take it, so it's up to you. So I'm just going to give this a mix first with this wooden spoon. Why not? I used it for the bacon grease. And then I'm going to go in with my hands until it comes together like this. And then once it comes together, I'm going to knead for about 10 minutes on the countertop. And if you do this right, it's not going to be too sticky, so you probably won't need extra flour on the work surface while you're kneading. But if you do, sprinkle some flour so it doesn't stick. So now I'm just going to section these off into dough balls. I'm going to do some large ones for the chimichangas, and the extra dough, I'll make them smaller for my sons. It's going to go right back into the mixing bowl here. Okay, so I have all of them divided, and now I'm going to just let them rest and place a damp paper towel right over them so they don't dry out. And you'll want to let them rest for about 20 minutes or so. Now it's time to roll them out, dusting my work surface, dusting the rolling pin, and then I'm just going to show you here. This is like the larger dough balls, and I also made smaller ones just for comparison. But like I said, I kind of eyeballed everything today, and I'm just trying to make these chimichangas quickly. Okay, so I'm going to roll this out. Use the best technique that works for you. If you can get it even in a square shape, that works. It doesn't have to be perfectly round. Okay, so this is rolled out, and what I do once I roll out the dough balls, I just like to hang it over the side of the bowl, and you want to let it rest. Once I get around 4 or 5 rolled out, I'll start to cook them. I used to like to use my cast iron skillet, but here I have this like round, large griddle, and it really helps when you're making larger flour tortillas. And you just cook it until it bubbles up on both sides and cooks through, and place it in a towel or something to keep them warm and pliable. Okay. So now it's time to put these together. Take a tortilla and then just add your filling, maybe like a 1/4 cup to a third cup of the filling. Here I have some shredded Colby Jack cheese. Add that and then give it a tight roll, and you tuck in the sides and then continue the roll, and that is how you roll these chimichangas, basically like a burrito. So I'm going to repeat the process for the rest of my tortillas. Okay, preheated oil, and I'm going to fry these. Sure, you can bake these. Sure, you can do it in the air fryer, but I feel like deep frying them today. Well, this is actually more like a shallow fry. I'm going to flip them at some point, but this really gives you that crunch for the chimichangas. Okay, so time to flip, and you can see I have some hot spots in my pan here. But really, you're just looking for a golden brown color, and then once you flip it and fry it on both sides, it's done. And that is how I make some of my favorite chicken and cheese chimichangas. And you can top, sauce, dip these how you like. A lot of people like fresh ingredients on top. Some people like to pour cheese on them like I do. Or I have a chimichanga recipe where I like to dip it in this guacamole sauce that I make. It's so good. And you probably know which one it is. It goes great with tacos, but today, you could use it for chimichangas. So I'm roasting 2 Mexican gray squash, garlic, jalapeno, onion, and tomatillos. I'm going to pop this into the oven to roast until everything is cooked and a little bit charred at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. It's going to take like 20-25 minutes. Then, at this point, I'm going to put everything in the blender with a little bit of water, and I'm going to remove the skin off the garlic. You want to keep the skin on the garlic so it doesn't burn, because that'll turn bitter, and that's why I like to keep the skin when I roast it. I'm adding some salt. You want to add salt and season to taste, and just blend that until it purees. And to give it that creamy viscosity, you'll need to add a couple tablespoons of cooking oil. That's the secret, other than the gray squash, to make this like this creamy, fake out guacamole salsa. It's so good, especially in chimichangas. So I'm putting these on a baking sheet with paper towels. And you want to sort of let them cool before you dig in because they will be very hot. And I actually have other chimichanga recipes where I filled it with ground beef and sometimes beans. It's really good. But I want you to hear how toasty and crispy the exterior is. This is golden brown perfection, and it's what's for dinner. I'm ready to dig in, and I will see you in the next one.